Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the About Circus podcast. My name is Kerttu Opus, and my first guest on the first ever episode of this podcast is Armas Lintusaari.
Hiya.
Welcome. Thank you for making the trip to our studio here in Tampere. It's really nice to have you. You are a member of Arctic Ensemble, and I think our starting point today is to talk about Arctic, at least to give some context to you as an artist and kind of where you work. But I think it's also important for us to remember that we are now talking to you as an individual and not just you as a spokesperson for the company. How do you identify yourself within, like, if people ask you about what you do for work or what kind of artist you are? Do you have like a clear, like, what do you tell people?
Usually I tell people that I'm, like most of the time, I'm a producer of a circus company, and then my dream is to be an artist, and then I'm kind of pursuing that dream within the limitations of running a company.
That's great. That's great, because I do a similar thing. This is like if outsiders, people not in the industry, ask me, I say I run a cultural association.
Yeah.
Because that is actually like most of my daily job. But if circus people ask you, they don't know you, and they're like, hey, so what's your deal? What do you do? What do you tell them?
Then I usually tell that I work in a big company or a big collective of acrobats, and that are mainly focusing in group acrobatics, and that we work with a circus tent.
Yeah.
Those are maybe the main things that I mention about myself.
Do you call yourself a circus artist?
I like to call myself a circus artist, but then in Finnish there is a difference between word artisti and word taiteilija, which is the same word in English, but artisti refers more to like a music performer, or like an I watched a documentary about K-pop stars. It's more like an idol, or like a person who does stuff that is created by someone else. Yeah. And then taiteilija, artist, is a creator.
Yeah, somebody
maybe
who
like
makes.
In French they are auteur, and what is the other?
I wouldn't actually.
Artist, maybe.
Yeah, but I think the definitions are so like cirkustaiteilija, circus artist. In my context for English language, for me it means more the performer. And I call myself a circus maker in English, because to me because I don't identify as an acrobat, and somehow those definitions. But I have this conversation with people a lot. This is a question I love to ask, because we don't really even we don't have those terminologies within our culture. Like, if you're an actor, you say I'm an actor, or if you're an actor who works as a director, you say I'm an actor and a director. But for us it's much more complicated, because we are kind of everything in a way. So it's more, the linguistics of it are more complicated.
But within those two, I'm definitely artist and definitely a performer, and that's kind of what has brought me to circus world, and what is my passion, and what brings me the most in circus.
Yeah, that actually leads really nicely to what I was going to ask next, which is about, I know enough about Arctic's background. Very briefly, you guys met in circus school in Lahti. You got a contract from Circus Finlandia directly after, and that's how you got your cradles, and that's kind of, very long story short, how you ended up. But how did you end up in Lahti? Give me a little bit of the origin of the origin.
Origin of the origin. I kind of knew that I wanted to do art in some way, and in the beginning I was more into music, and I played guitar and I was singing, like when I was doing the primary, secondary, high school. And then I didn't have any other relation to circus except that my parents they had this autumn party since I was a kid, or actually they had it before us already. And then when we were kids, we wanted our own this Kaamos party for the kids, and it started as a masquerade for the kids, and my parents were creating their own show, kind of like a small circus show made by my parents.
Are they artists?
Yeah, they're both artists.
Okay,
so my mother is a visual artist, and my father is a silversmith, doing jewelry, but not like focusing on jewelry art.
Yeah, cool.
And then they made this small-scale, self-made DIY funny circus show. And then after the first year, or maybe 2 years that they had it, we wanted to be part of the show as kids, and like me, my brother, our neighbors, kind of the local child community.
How old were you at the time?
Maybe, let's say 6, 7.
Okay, cool.
So then after that, we've done this Circus, the autumn circus show every year.
You still do it?
We still do it.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And through that, maybe this kind of concept of a circus has been present to us.
Yeah.
And then when contemporary circus started to be a thing in Finland, maybe like for me, it was Racehorse Company that was the first contemporary circus companies that I saw in Finland.
Yeah.
Of course, like it was really influential.
Yeah.
And then I went to see, well, there was like multiple things that were kind of guiding me towards circus, though I didn't do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
But one of them was that I went to see a show in Espoo Theatre.
Yeah.
It was the first time they played Timber by Circus.
Yeah, that's great. That's so funny.
And it was sold out, and I was late not late, but on time for the show, but I was the last one to come in, so I had to, and my seat was in the middle of Louhisali.
Yeah.
So I had to run kind of through the stage and then climb up the stairs and go like past all the people to get to the center. And then there was a guy sitting next to me who asked me in English that are you on the field?
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, but maybe I could be. I've been performing a bit.
Yeah.
And then it ended up that he was the producer of the show.
Oh, really?
And that was like, for me, like, it felt like destiny. And then like, because he was kind of taking me as a peer.
Yeah.
And then I heard about this school in Lahti that my friends that were studying in the same campus, graphic design or something, they said that there's a school that has lots of weird people in it, that Armas you could fit there.
Yeah.
And then I started to think about the thing of applying with my friend who had dance background, and we applied together, and we both got into the school. Oh,
he was in your year as well?
Helmi.
Okay.
And she's now doing other stuff, pursuing other dreams.
Yeah.
But then we applied together and both got in, and kind of Lahti is a nice place for studying circus, because there you can get in also kind of with potential points.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like. I hadn't.
You didn't have a technique.
Yes. No. Like definitely no. But I had lots of motivation.
I find it really interesting that your influences, like looking at where your artistic career is now, that you're working in a big collective, the first contemporary circus company in Finland to have a tent in this very much like DIY, we are doing it because we want to do it way, which is like one of the reasons why your company is so cool and why I think your company is successful in the way that it is successful. And that your early influences were like people putting together a circus in the backyard because that's what they wanted to do, because it was fun. And then Cirque Alphonse, which is like you know, the Canadian, the Quebecois version of this, like we make a circus in our barn with our family, and then we tour it internationally.
Yeah.
And
racehorse company.
And racehorse company as well. Like it all very much kind of like makes sense in my mind. I didn't know that about your background, so that's very interesting. In Lahti, did you have circus creations? Did you make shows as a part of your education there?
Yeah, we had several creation. I think we had how many shows? At least 3 creations with the class, and then we had smaller demo creations that were done. Some of them were solo, and some of them were group demos.
And were those directed by somebody on the outside, or were they like collective?
I think our class worked really nicely as a collective, but of course I was a student back then, so it's hard to say who was making the decisions in the end, because the teachers could have been leading us, and then we think that these are our own decisions. But I think that they were all directed by a teacher, but it was a bit different on each show, that how much the teachers put input to the show.
Is there something that you remember very clearly from your school time about making shows specifically that has carried through to how you make shows now with Arctic Ensemble? Like, is there some method or something that you remember learning that you had carried over?
Because there is still people in Arctic Ensemble who have been studying at the same class. Like there is people from 3 different classes, and me, Anselmi Kaisanlahti, and Pihla Ojala, we are from the same class. I think because we also did a small creation in school that was kind of not part of the school time, or the curriculum, but we wanted to do it so we could tour it kind of independently during the last summer break of the school. So I think that we have had similar collective way of just saying out loud the funniest and stupidest ideas that we can imagine, and then like kind of joke around. I think that is a way, like a strong part of creation for us as collective, to kind of be in the studio and just kind of hang around, kind of playing, but not really. We can just like joke for hours about things, and then those jokes might end up being kind of scenes for the show, and then kind of the end result can be like really not funny. But it has been started off as a joke. For instance, a good example is from our latest creation, Ensembled, where there is a scene where I'm dragged with a pulling hoist like through the stage, and people are walking on top of me. It's like, in a way, it's really funny. And it started off as a joke. Like
it's kind of a devastating scene.
And it's like really tragic in a way, and I'm singing about kind of death and loneliness.
Especially in the context of Ensembled, which is quite a light-hearted show. Overall, that scene definitely hits like a different note. Is that structured somehow? Like, you say you get into the studio and you start making these jokes. Is that a decision that happens? Like, okay, now we're gonna start working together, and let's just like start trying stuff. Is it that like kind of natural and organic, or do you plan, okay, let's now for 2 hours, let's have a meeting, and then, you know, like I'm curious to, because you're such a big group, how do you decide where to start?
We're not so organized in that way yet, but also we're a young company, like artistically, because we've been doing together one big show, one medium show, and then some smaller shows, but then they have been duo shows, for instance.
Yeah.
So then they have like really different dynamics to the creation. But I think it's just something that comes organically from us, and if we try to structure something, it might end up kind of fooling around. But yeah.
Is it fair to say that, like, let's say you're in creation and you agree, okay, we're gonna warm up at this time and we're gonna start at this time, but you don't necessarily know what you're starting with, you just kind of show up in the space together and then things happen? Yeah,
usually we decide that what scene we are working on.
Yeah.
Of course. And then of course, because we're such a large group, then in some scenes we divide ourselves to smaller groups. Okay, this subgroup is working on this scene and this other is working on the other, and like it's also then up to the people who are in it, kind of what is the way of creation of the scene.
And where do the ideas for the scenes come from?
I think they come from studio, just like the fooling around, playing around, or then someone just comes to the conversation, artistic conversation of the shows with an idea.
Yeah.
And it might be that the person they have been talking about it maybe with a smaller group first, because we are a big family. In a way, we're 4 couples in the company, and then there is also 2 brothers. So then they make their own 4 people smaller community within the bigger company. So sometimes maybe they have been just talking and then they come up with an idea, like to the bigger creation process. And it's really up to the usually someone has an idea that we start to work with, and then it's kind of also up to the how much the people are taking space socially, that how well those ideas might be heard. So there isn't really like a structured way to give everybody an equal voice. It's kind of like, well, if you have an idea and you want to bring it to the group's attention, it's kind of your prerogative to do so in the way that you see fit. It's like, of course, we would love it to be equal, like, because we're talking a lot and trying to function as a really equal and democratic collective, but that's also just if you have a group of people, then some social dynamics form. But you don't, for example, have a system where, like, okay, now everybody takes a turn pitching ideas, and now we spend 10 minutes on each person's idea, and then it isn't structured in that way. It's more like kind of organic how it happens. We've been doing that as well, but maybe like in the middle of creation, it comes more like that might be like the start that people, or like everyone gets a voice to come up with their own ideas. But if we're in a studio, then we usually are kind of through that phase already. Though new ideas might come that might change the whole thing. But that's interesting. I actually remember. But it's we're so many that we have to kind of then, if we take everyone's opinion, or if we listen, like, it's really hard to say, but if we listen to everybody and everyone gets their voice heard, then it takes a really long time. And time is limited, unfortunately, within creations. And other resources as well. So then I would love to be that we would be in a position, or we would have tools that people can be heard better. But so far, you have to draw the line.
I mean,
somewhere.
I work in a working group of 2 people, and I find that sometimes it's hard to. Sometimes you kind of independently have to be like, this is a part where I am leading, and this is a part where I am following, and you have to, in a way, just like gauge within the social circumstance when is the right time to do which. I just find it really interesting. I have observed you working as a group a little bit. I actually really distinctly remember the first time I saw that happen. I think it's the first time that I met you in person. And I was thinking about it today on the way here, about that situation. And I remember it very clearly because I was quite pregnant at the time, and we had friends from Gravity Not Myths who were in Tampere, and we had kind of loosely organized that they could come and train with you at the same time at Sorin, and it was the first time that I observed you like training as a team, and I remember being in awe of it. I remember watching you train in Cradle together and just being like, oh, this really big group of people is working together in a really like seemingly balanced and organic and respectful way, but I don't see them negotiating how that happens. It just happens. And I witnessed a situation where you did a trick and it failed and Pihla fell down, and there was this like, nobody spoke on top of each other. There was this very clear like almost procedure that she says, I'm okay, and then one of you says like, what do you need? And then she says, no, I'm okay, I don't need anything, I think this is what happened. And then another person says, yeah, I think that's what happened too. And then a third person says, should we do it again? And then you have this like, I don't even know how it's possible with such a large group that you have a conversation with so many voices that still directs to the same result. But it felt like there was respect towards her specifically, that it was her call, that she got to kind of say, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And she got to say, yeah, let's do it again. And I remember looking at that and just being like, that's really cool. Like, it's almost like magical about how it seems to work. And I'm still really fascinated by it on all levels. Not like this is you training Cradle, which is your like primary thing, but it extends to your life. It extends to running the tent and running the tour and all of the building things. And I just, it's really admirable. And I think this like, I would love to watch this fooling around happen. Like I would love to be a firefly on the roof and watch you guys make jokes and then turn that into a show. But also having seen Ensembled, it makes sense. Like now that I know that and I look at what the show like presents itself as to me, I'm like, yeah, they are friends and they were messing around and they had ideas and this is what came out of it. Yeah. And in that sense, it's really cool that it can be that. And I think the circus in itself, the high quality of technique and the disciplines is what makes that possible. Because then you have this balance of like you being pulled on the floor singing and other people stepping on you, and then you have a Russian Cradle act, and the balance of those things is kind of like natural in a way. But you said something really interesting earlier before we started recording about the differences between an act and a moment, and I want to kind of recap that conversation a bit for the recording as well. I wanted to know about what kind of words you use in your creation, and I asked you specifically, do you use the word act, numero? Yeah. And you said that you did, but only if it is an act.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah. So like for me and for us, act is a circus act. That because we have our after school we had some time that we were working in traditional circuses that were like act based. So you have this 5 to 8 minute thing that is followed by someone else doing the 5 to 8 minute thing.
Yeah.
And somehow for me, act is it has circus technique as a kind of fundamental starting point of the scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
or for the time used.
Yes. Yes.
And it might kind of go against the dramaturgy of the whole show, because it's thought that because it's a circus show, it's worthy to have circus in it.
Yeah.
And then there might be kind of ideas behind how it reflects to the idea of the whole show, or how is it running in the flow of the show.
Yeah.
But still the main point is to present the circus technique.
Yeah.
And I think for me it's hard to watch, for instance, Cirque du Soleil shows, because in there they have acts, but they're thinking of building a story behind it.
Yeah.
And it never resonates.
Yeah.
Because they're still focusing on the technique.
Yeah.
So maybe that, and that's also like it's a long conversation on kind of the challenges on expressing with circus arts.
Yeah.
But for me, like we talk more about scenes, and then a scene can be an act, but I think act can't be a scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me.
I think there is like this kind of that it's a measure of time and a definition of content. For me, it's very easy to imagine when you say an act. I know what an act is.
That's what we've learned in school.
That's what we have learned in school. We have been taught how to make acts, and we both, as I think many people as acrobats, have this inherent like, this is how I would make an act, and this is how it's structured, and this is how they normally begin, and this is how they normally end. But we don't have that so inherently when it comes to making shows.
Yeah.
And Arctic Ensemble also has an interesting, because I would still say that you're a contemporary circus company, but the structure of your show is still, you have acts. Like it's not contemporary in the sense that it's like one movement.
Yeah.
That also happens in the contemporary circus context, that some circus companies and creators are just like, we don't have acts at all. We just move through kind of everything. But you still have like group numbers, group acts and transitions, and you have the big final act with the cradles always.
That comes from the
so that you still kind of like follow this traditional circus format, and you are in a tent, but then the aesthetics and maybe some of the structural choices and the thematic choices and stuff, they don't point to the traditional way as much. Is this a conversation that you have had as a group consciously, or is that just what has happened naturally?
It is a conscious choice since we're because we're many people, it's really expensive to make a show, or we have to get audience to make a show. Like we can't do a show for 40 people because we're already 10 people on stage plus other people working for the company. So we have to get numbers behind us audience-wise. So in a way we've it's a secret, don't tell anyone, don't tell the audience. We've been discussing that we kind of trick the audience to come to see a traditional circus show. And then it has elements from that, for instance, the length, the outside aesthetics, popcorn, intermission, you know, those kind of things. And some like dramaturgical choices, that there are those some like pleaser acts that
Yeah.
are might be like really interesting for us as well, but then they are something that people want to see when they go and see a circus show.
I think in circus it's is really what you said about how much we can express is an interesting conversation, and then the other really interesting relevant conversation is the expectation of the audience. That at least in our context in Finland, and I would say argue in most other places in Europe except France, you cannot rely on an audience to be educated about what circus, especially more contemporary modern circus is. And in order to sell tickets, you are gonna be fighting against some kind of expectation of what they think a circus is. So you're consciously feeding enough into that and then just like twisting it at the end. And is that twist at the end for you? Or is it for them?
It's like both.
Okay.
Because like we wouldn't do that without the twist. Like we okay, now I wouldn't do it without the twist.
Let's make the differentiation.
Because it's the thing that makes me feel that I'm doing art that I want to do and pursuing something beyond words and beyond like the feeling of being entertained.
I think
but also we think it's an audience education, art education thing to make a large scale show that has something weird in it, that people are like, oh, I like this, and then something weird happened, and but I still might like it. That because many people know circus, but still contemporary circus, though there has been like multiple companies, and you know, I think I could refer us as the third generation of contemporary circus in Finland. Though maybe not in year-wise, but in like waves or third wave of contemporary circus in Finland.
I think that's accurate.
And the first two waves, they have been doing enormous work for the name of circus in Finland and for the funding, but still there is many people, like lots of audience to reach, that I feel that they don't know that what they are missing. That they would love to see contemporary circus if they knew what it was.
I think I love that you kind of now honed in on the differentiation for the motivation for you. And I think I'm also interested in that because your company could have a traditional circus show. You could just decide to do that, and you have in the context of Circus Finlandia before. But there is something in the group, not only in you, but something that is driving you to but let's just not make a traditional, like let's do something else. And do you know what that is for you personally? Like you kind of said that you want to make art, and balancing of art and entertainment is a kind of a tricky situation that many circus makers are in, because we maybe externally are often cast as entertainment, but then I recognize that many of us also want to entertain. That there is this like we kind of become acrobats in a way with this like the expectation is to impress other people, and the expectation is to maybe portray danger and stuff when you are an acrobat, when you study to become a circus artist, or when you decide that's what you want to do, you can't fully like remove the traditional context of circus as entertainment as well. For you personally, how do those two things like coexist in your motivation? Like when you go into a creation, do you think about how do you balance like your needs and what do you think the audience expects?
There was many questions,
yes,
but
that was a long question.
I will start with the traditional contemporary comparison, or I feel that because I've been working in traditional circuses and seeing kind of what is the logic of the show and of the whole thing, kind of whole, what are they pursuing? And it's somewhat like, of course, it's they make it for business, and then there is some. I think it would be now like conservatism, that they're conserving a cultural tradition.
Yeah.
And of course, it would be nice to make money, but then I feel that that's not maybe the main point for me to exist.
Yeah.
To be a wheel in the capitalistic wagon. And I feel that because I've been grown seeing shows, going to art galleries, art exhibitions, listening to music. I feel that there is so much more to, like, circus has so much more to give than the entertaining.
Yeah.
Ooh, danger.
Yeah.
Nice flips. Also, like, because of my background of DIY circus, that we none of us knew none of us could do any tricks.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know any circus technique.
Yeah.
But then we were just like figuring out that what we can do with the resources that we have. That is like very contemporary circus that I've now found out.
Yeah.
So I feel that it gives me more, because we could also be just we could be doing our own traditional circus show, but we could be also just touring with the cradle somewhere, like in a not like a traditional shows, but in show business world.
Yeah.
But and be wealthier.
Yeah.
100%.
Probably.
But it wouldn't, like, I wouldn't think it then as a good life for me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have, well, it might be a very individualistic thing, but then you get lost to the machine and your own voice is like diminished.
Yeah.
But then when we have our own company and have our own shows, then we can really kind of present who we are and what we want to share with the world.
Do you think that has to do with
really
like authenticity?
Yeah.
Because I think that would be maybe a word that I would use to describe you a lot. Like you don't really. Well, of course, you all have your performing personas, but your company's like existence, but also the way that you perform is kind of about being true to yourselves as people, and also to each other, like as a team. So then, are you saying that maybe the need to be authentic is kind of the thing that is driving the wanting to make your own shows?
And to be present and like really share with the audience, you know, not like I'm smiling and looking at you sharing, but something deeper.
Yeah.
That is really hard to describe.
Some kind of vulnerability or humanity.
That is actually like, you can't measure it. You can measure it in a way that when you talk with the audience members after the show, that what they have been feeling, and then you can see if you have succeeded or not. But then it's also really hard to like chat with audience afterwards. But like the feedback that I've got from the shows, I think that we're on the right tracks with that. Authenticity, and then also like just being present and sharing.
I think this would lead really interestingly to the conversation about expression and how circus can do that. We have a little bit of time left, so it would be nice to talk about it. We kind of have mentioned it earlier in the conversation, but there is a little bit of a, you mentioned it in the Cirque du Soleil example, that they're trying to say something that isn't there, or they're like, I think in my company, between me and Adam, we joke about like, this one arm doesn't mean global warming, like, which is the most extreme example that I can, you know.
But seen in a show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for me, I can't think of the real example right now, but I'm sure it exists.
Circus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, Circus. There is a limit to how much we can.
The show was called Limits. Yes. Sorry.
I haven't seen it.
No, me neither, but I just knew. Well,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, Circus. No.
There is a limit to how much like the specificity of circus technique can say. You know, we can do things like I'm drawing from my personal experience and this is my emotion, and now this emotion is driving the way that I interpret my trick. Like, that is a thing that can be done. That is a technique that I have been taught in my circus education. Like, how do we express with movement through our technical kind of presentation? But you can't, you need a lot more context around to make that directly readable to the audience. So you were talking about this like authenticity and wanting to express. How do you think, like, where does that come across from your performance to the audience? Do you know? Because it's fine not to know. It's because it's kind of an ineffable thing. But I'm just curious, like, have you said that the audiences kind of are getting the thing that you're trying to say?
Yeah.
But are you trying to say it purposefully through some method, or are you just hoping that it's there in your presence?
Maybe we like to think that when we're creating some material, it comes from the rules and limitations of the disciplines, circus disciplines that we're using.
Yeah.
So like, we're trying not to do so that we have an aerial hoop and then, or like, then it's a moon and then someone is drawn to the moon and something like this, which is very Cirque.
Yes.
But that kind of, what other qualities there are to the circus disciplines, how do they look, how do they behave, and then draw material from that. Like, for instance, like we've been struggling with the cradle. Like, we're standing on 3-meter high podiums and throwing girls in the air.
It's very specific.
Like, it can't be anything else that it is.
Yeah.
So then we're kind of building around it that, okay, it is what it is. We're not trying to make it be anything else.
Yeah.
We could do that. We are Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings, and then we're tossing Gimli across like, you know, hellhole of goblins, but then it kind of then, like, first of all copyrights, and second of all, like
First of all, copyrights.
There is not that much expressed.
Yeah.
But then when we build a show about being authentic and being physically present, like to the audience like this, and trusting each other, then from those aspects, Cradle is really interesting, because like we're really present, because we're doing things that if they go wrong, it might really hurt someone.
Yeah.
And the risk is like really visible there when you see that someone is flying in many meters of air doing multiple flips.
Yeah, and I have to say
And I
that
think that's like more interesting than kind of telling a story where we throw people over the pit of goblins.
yeah, or pretend that the hoop is a moon.
Yeah.
I think the interest there specifically like comes from your relationships to each other. One of my favorite scenes in Ensemble is the hand-to-hand swinging trapeze trio, because somehow specifically in the dynamics there is this like tenderness and softness in the touch between the three of them, although it is like acrobatically high impact. But somehow with the way that it's framed with the music and everything, there is care between the three of them. And I'm not sure if Pihla and Anselmi ever touch each other.
Just in the end.
Just in the end,
Yeah.
but still somehow they feel like connected to each other.
Yeah.
But it is framed as a traditional circus act.
Yeah,
like
it is,
there
it's
isn't
really an act. Yeah.
there isn't any spoken word theater in it. There isn't that much like choreographical dancing or anything. They're basically they're doing their tricks. But something about how it is framed, something about how they move together, I think the music does a lot. It definitely brings this idea of like kind of softer connection between people, and why it's my favorite scene is because they're doing big tricks. They're doing difficult acrobatics, but they're doing it with a softness that kind of gives this interesting like juxtaposition that I find is compelling. And I agree with you that that is more interesting than inventing a love triangle between the three of them or something, and then trying to portray that. Yeah. But of course, you know, group acrobatics are always going to be read, you know, in this human way of like connection and touch and violence maybe. Yeah. You know. But I think it's very interesting to understand how we don't manage to do that so methodologically. That's not the right word, but do you know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah.
We don't have like a guidebook to be like, I want the audience to understand this emotion, and by doing the circus tricks this specific way, they're going to understand it. It's very ineffable. It's very like untouchable, and we do it often instinctively. And especially when you're talking about a group, then you're definitely doing it organically. Yeah. Was that purposeful, do you think, for that act?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
That was kind of what the idea of the act is also. Yeah. So it kind of means that we've succeeded in a way. Also, I think when they were creating the act, there was more those ideas that you talked that were coming through, they were present in their conversations, but there was like a lot more that maybe then finally in the end was not the point of the act. But it's always interesting how because we're performing and creating, so we can't see from outside that how does it look like, because though I'm not in the scene, but I'm in the scene before and the scene after, you know, that I don't see the whole flow. And then because I think many of the things that are present in the act come from the things that you have seen before, and maybe kind of in the end you understand the act after you've seen the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So it's though you have an idea for the act, it might not be the final result how the audience like gets it.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we had the time to talk about this, because this is something that I am really particularly interested in. This kind of wanting to say something as a circus artist, having this intention to want to express, but then the methods that we have to express are so, they go against, you know, they are just what they are in a way, because they are a physical skill. And you made a really good point previously today as well in our conversation about how the amount of time it takes to make circus technique is so long that you could like spend a year making an 8-minute act, and then
or your lifetime,
or your
using
lifetime
for, you know, 3 seconds of a trick.
Yeah, and then in different contexts it's kind of difficult for the audience's perspective to be like, now this time this means this, but in this other show this means something else. But what you are physically do, your repertoire, what you have, it is what you have. And I think when you make circus like you do, or as I do to a certain extent, you have to reinvent something, but you can't continuously be reinventing your physical practice.
No, definitely not.
So then how do you know, but for your company it's a bit different because you are a larger group, so there's a lot more skill sets, and in one show you can have one solo, and in the next show you can have a different solo. Like you don't do Roussier in ensembles.
Yeah, I don't.
And so then you can have another show where there's like, oh, that person does Roussier and we didn't see that last year. Like there's a lot more variety versus being a 1 or 2 person company.
Yep.
Well, I'm very, very happy with this conversation, and like I have known you for some time and I have known the company for some time, and still I learned a lot that I didn't know, which is the reason why I decided to invite you here, so I'm really happy about that. Maybe just as a last question before we close off, it would be interesting to like dream into the future a little bit, especially in the context of Finland. Now Arctic Ensemble has this tent, and you have had these shows. What is your like dream of the way that the Finnish circus scene or the circus audiences will develop in the future? Like, do you have some kind of what you would hope to be able to present, or what you would hope would bring people to Arctic Ensemble's performances? That was many questions.
That was again many questions. Maybe I'm dreaming that we find a way to sustain the circus tent, because it's also a lot of work, and we're many people, but we could be more people doing the same amount of work. So I want to make it sustainable, and also you know, sometimes I feel that we had this dream of the circus tent, and now we have it, so I feel that I have to start dreaming again, because otherwise I kind of might lose the motivation. So then I would say to myself that let's be the like biggest circus company of Finland or something like this. That our work is like recognized nationally, and people would know that okay, that tent is coming to town, kind of like the traditional circus thing, but reinvented. That circus is coming to town, but it can be just a place for interesting cultural art events or interesting shows. They don't have to be our shows. It hopefully can be a venue for other companies as well in the future. so that we wouldn't have to like invent or like create new shows every year, because that's also not a sustainable thing. That there could be some other shows there, and I don't know the logistics of it all, but it's just a dream. But also to somehow, to develop the circus culture even more in Finland, to make it more recognized and more interesting for the audience, not only for us, but circus field in general in Finland. And then also find platforms to present our work internationally in a way that when we're not working in Finland, then people are just waiting for the moment that our schedules will match with some international venues, that then we could also do that kind of work.
Would you like to do your original performances internationally as well?
Yeah. I don't know if ensemble is the show. Like maybe there could be a version of that as well that could tour internationally, but and I actually hope that, because it's a show that deserves more place. But like kind of find the way to balance some kind of international touring with the spending over half of the year in Finland with the tent. Because we're not aiming to take the tent abroad, at least for next 5 years. Or like, so as long as I can imagine, we're not planning to take the tent abroad, because then it's just lots of logistics hassle and even higher risks, and then if you want to create culture, you have to kind of create traditions as well. So like tradition is a good word in that sense.
I love that. That's such a great way to describe especially what you do. Like this idea that people would know that now is the time that the tent comes into town. And there is the tradition of going and coming, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what is happening is traditional, even though it follows a tradition. And I think that's the very like skillful balancing act that, you know, Arctic Ensemble is doing. And I think I really appreciate that you brought up the fact that the tent isn't just for you. Like it is a larger gift to the whole community in a way. And just this upcoming year, there's multiple festivals, new contemporary circus festivals in Finland that are possible because you have a venue and that you are participating in organizing them.
I feel that maybe the one big COVID grant that Taike gave us for the tent, it's like paying off in very different ways to just like kind of bring hope and inspiration to the whole field in general.
Yep, I definitely agree. And for that reason, I'm really glad that you were the first guest on this podcast. I think we got a really good like grounding of kind of what's happening in Finnish circus from your perspective, and also what this tent means going forward. And I'm hopeful that there is a way to make it sustainable.
Me too.
I think, and I think that there is quite a large communal backing for you. Like even though you wish there were more people actively like doing it, I think there are a lot of people with resources that are willing to support and keep making it happen. And I think that is starting to be visible in also the projects that you have coming up and everything. Well, thank you so much, Armas, and I really appreciate your like vulnerability and honesty in the conversation, and I hope our listeners do as well. Thank you, and good luck with this upcoming year. It's January, so we can schedule this in for
Yeah.
next January and
let's
see if our dreams came true.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you for this podcast, and also good luck for you with this.
Thank
I
you.
think it's a really interesting start of a project.
Yeah, we're gonna find out what happens.